Come with us. We're gonna check out the GOAT. Today we're hanging with Original Parts Group as they restore a 68 back to factory perfection.
68 cars are always a little bit of an interesting project because you're not kind of really sure what you're going to get into.
It's a challenge, especially when you're trying to go back to factory original.
It is a challenge, but when the OPG guys finally see it, well, stay tuned.
Man, it's awesome.
It was a Pontiac engineer named John DeLorean who named her in Italian Gran Turismo Omologato. Roughly translated, that means it's a certified Grand Touring car. Well, to cut through all that, her biggest fans just up and named her the GOAT. There's a big love for this muscle car, and nowhere is that love bigger than at that automotive institution known as Original Parts Group. Currently, they're in the process of restoring a 68, and Tony over at OPG remembers what it was like when it first arrived.
The car was in pretty good shape. I can't believe it. It's amazing. It's a 68, GTO, and no floors or trunks, and the frame and the braces and all that.
Frame was all right, no problems with the frame, no damage. Everything was in good shape.
How lucky is this guy, rebuilding a killer ride with a whole warehouse of great gear at his disposal? OPG has Joel restoring this car because it's the kind of machine they specialize in. Classic GM favorites that are as popular now as they were back in the day.
As far as our decision making goes to restore the vehicle, it's really what our product line dictates.
Some parts, like the doors, have received a few new pieces from OPG.
The edges look fantastic. I would have never known you'd skin this.
It's a mix of original and new.
And the reproduction nose, now this is a fairly new product for Original Parts Group. It looks pretty good.
And that nose will hold that GTO split grille along with those hideaway headlights. Returning to the interior, the plan is for more new gear.
But now we have that Ivy Gold interior going inside.
Oh yeah,
here, right? It's really going to have a nice unique look to it when it's all done. I can't wait to see it.
This guy's going to make sure this GOAT looks great.
I like it.
We're going to start off today pre-assembling some of this stuff on the GTO. We've already done the frame off part of it, had all the body and paint done.
This is a great place to begin, so let's do it.
Today we're going to put the firewall pad into it, which then we can put in the heater box easier, and then we can put in the fender wells.
And that unruly and cumbersome firewall pad installs easily when you've got the right tool. Just check out this little gadget.
We came up with a tool to go in the middle of it and to drive the whole thing inside the firewall pad.
With these tools and these parts, this GTO will be a rolling tribute to classic muscle cars, being remade in the spirit that first put it on the road. Everything here is strictly by the book.
This build's unique because they're following the build sheet exactly. This car is going to be, one of a kind because everything is going to be, to factory, which most cars aren't.
And that notion is cool with the entire team. After all, some will say that you really can't improve upon an original model GTO.
Personally, I like restoring them back to original specs because not a lot of people do it anymore.
We have the build sheet, it's a well-documented car, so it's kind of, we're trying to make it as close to how it came off the assembly line, which gets to be a challenge in the parts deal.
Most of it's here at OPG.
They've reproducing a lot of products now. Original Parts Group has a lot of stuff available compared to when we were doing this 10 years ago.
Places like OPG make it possible to keep old cars from ending up in the salvage yard.
And it's just made it tremendously easier to restore these things.
And that's a good thing, because what would the world's muscle car lovers do without places like OPG? A shop that can make an old ride new. It's a place that lets you hang on to your four-wheel dream. And it all started with this guy, his story, and the rest of our build when we return with more Hot Rod TV. Original Parts Group is opening its shop to rebuild a perfect factory GTO. The original car was in pretty good shape, but Joel and his crew have made it even better. By restoring old parts and utilizing the inventory of OPG, the team's recreating the car that rolled out of GM in the 1960s, a ride many consider to be the world's first true muscle car. This build also celebrates an anniversary.
The business was started 25 years ago. It's our 25th anniversary. And Dave started it basically out of his garage and peddling parts at swap meets.
That was then.
Well, I started the company back in 1982, selling used parts at swap meets, and people responded, and the company grew, and I've moved. I mean, since that time, I've moved 8 times.
They're always expanding.
Well, you guys know Tony Genty. He's our Chief of Operations at Original Parts Group, and he's been with me for 20 years this year.
Tony's the go-to guy at OPG.
He just knows everybody. He's the guru. So he turned me on to Joel, and Joel's done a fantastic job for us. In fact, he restored this car that we're driving.
It's another OPG beauty, driven by a guy who knows exactly what you need to do when you own a classic automobile.
You have to enjoy these cars. They're beautiful, and they you know, if you just let it sit, then it's not worth it. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah, the fever still burns strong. And here's more proof of that. Everywhere you look, it's a world of cool cars, hot rods, and radical rides. And whether you're on the road, at the car show, at the drag track, or even out on the salt flats, you know one thing is certain. It's all good when you're checking them out, watching them run, or best of all, behind the wheel yourself. But don't take our word for it. Let these mighty machines speak for themselves. Yes, no doubt about it. There's no cure for cool car fever. And better than anybody, Dave knows there are many gear-headed organizations that are fully aware of that.
There's thousands of classic car clubs all around the country, all around the world, and none of that's going to go away. And I don't think it has anything to do with what the gas prices are, or whether we stick with gasoline engines in 15 or 20 years from now. It's got nothing to do with that. It just has everything to do with history, nostalgia, and an interest in the evolution of the automobile. What gives me the most thrill is keeping these cars alive.
Back with the rebuild, Joel balances the progress with the problems.
I got a lot of my friends saying I'm doing their dream job, having fun, but sometimes in this game, it's not easy, and we just I get a big enjoyment when we're finally done and the customer picks it up, and it's what they want.
In a world of cool cars, Joel wants the evolving GTO to join that club of highly sought-after rides. Can it happen? We'll see when we return with more Hot Rod TV. Welcome back. The top guys at Original Parts Group are putting a build team to the test, allowing them to restore a 68 GTO.
Interesting thing about this GTO, obviously it's a 68, and for anybody that remembers, General Motors was on strike in 68, so 68 cars are always a little bit of an interesting project.
About 78,000 of these hardtops were made.
And the interesting thing about the 68 GTO was they had gone to a urethane nose and they'd gone to hideaway headlights, which were really neat. You know, they were really starting to move into some really neat things. And then, of course, it led the way for the Judge coming down the road in 69, 70s.
Back with the build, Joel's checking off his list.
We finished up all the brake lines and stuff, and we dynamated the floor and everything. We're going to install the motor and the tranny and get the front miscellaneous on the front and go from there.
We're going to hit this manifold with some heat protection from VHT and keep it nice and brand new looking.
The spray is going on one very special powertrain.
It's a 400 Pontiac. Butlers did the motor work, did it complete as you can see it.
And it's sporting its own set of cool colors.
We use a duplicolor high engine paint, and it's heat resistant to all of it and stuff, and it really holds up and lasts, you know, a long time.
Okay, time to install. But first, there has to be a union.
Well, we're gonna get the motor and the tranny bolted together.
That transmission is an Art Car 200, ready to meet that 400 Pontiac.
We always put our motors and trannies in one piece in them. We never try to set the motor in and then put the tranny underneath. We just put it together, stuff it in the hole and go.
True GOAT fans know how this all began. In 1964, John DeLorean shoved a 389 V8 into a Tempest, creating a legendary car.
A couple of guys that goes right in. Nice job. You didn't have 6 fingers going.
Hey, it's a muscle car. You gotta work for it. Even though most of this ride is based off the original factory specs, there's no doubt it will handle better than any car made in 1968.
Build the car to its original look and appearance, but there's a few areas you want to upgrade always, you know, in steering and brakes. You know, let's just face it, we can make them a better driver, but they can still look like they did in 68.
Got it?
Yep.
What do you need? You got a few more inches there?
Yeah, we got plenty.
Pontiac first tried calling the car the Wide Track Tiger, and later, the Great One. Hot Rodders called it the GOAT. Whatever it was called, by 1967, the GTO was the sales king of Detroit.
Looking good, it's in the hole. Ready for the trans mount.
With the engine now in, it's time to strap it all up. And one thing is clear, this car is only a few pieces short of being a certified reborn GTO, a Pontiac that's about to drive out of a time machine.
Our heart's truly in for the original and the pureness of the car.
Okay, my bracket's good. Is your bracket good?
Yeah, mine's good.
All right, the motor's in, everything went good, and on to the next part.
It's a long list.
We're gonna put on the alternator, the power steering, get the pulley on, start working on fitting up the fan, and push on.
Pushing on is all about finishing the fun stuff. See it happen when we return with more Hot Rod TV. We're back with Hot Rod TV and the build of a perfect GTO at Original Parts Group. Joel and his team have just put in the engine. Following factory specs, they're making a rebuild that's near and dear to OPG founder Dave Leonard.
My personal favorite is a car that is restored, that is just to a T, cosmetically. I don't have any, if you're going to change drum brakes to disc, if you're going to put a better tranny in there, if you're going to do things under the hood, as long as the numbers don't match, it's open season. I don't have a problem with that. If the numbers match, your car is literally a museum piece.
Having the inventory of OPG makes this project a blast. These guys know one very cool thing. If they need it, they can just go and get it. And at the end of all this, they're going to have a car that will take people back to a whole other place. It'll be the kind of ride that makes drivers remember that one special ride. That's the essence of what they do at Original Parts Group.
Almost everybody you talk to has a car, wants a car, their dad had a car, they remembered a guy in high school or a girl or whatever, and I think people are just, you know, they see the parts are available, and that really drives it.
Back in the shop, it's time to make sure we can get in this GTO and out.
We're going to install this door handle. It's a reproduction by OPG.
Well, knowing Joel and knowing his company and the reputation they have and the integrity that they've always kept, I have no doubt that this thing is 99.9% perfect, and the only percent that he couldn't get perfect is if he couldn't find the part. And that's what it boils down to.
This is the finished vent window, all assembled, new seals, all re-chrome, new glass, and that's it, ready to install.
As the vent goes in, the interior arrives.
Well, we're gonna set them up in there and see how everything fits up.
In it goes, and before long, it's clear that it's going quite well. This is part of an interior package from a company that's known for getting it right.
This upholstery has come from PUI, does a lot of it and stuff, and they get it really like dead nuts on, pretty much how it was in the 60s.
Up front, they're going to be refurbishing the original dash pieces.
This one is really was found. Tony and them found it over there. The wood grain that's stuck on here is a reproduced piece, and then we'll just clean it, repaint it, and detail it. Usually the radios are always cut out of these things and stuff, so this one's a really nice piece they found.
Parts like this are getting harder and harder to find. But if you love those old cars, you remember all those classic details.
I grew up in the 60s and early 70s, and you know, for me, I guess just for like a lot of people, it's just got to be the nostalgia factor. I mean, I remember having a paper route in Detroit in 1970, and there's this guy putting together a 67 442, and that thing was on blocks for a year. And I saw the whole process unfold, and it was amazing. I was like 12 years old. It was my paper route. And ever since then, I've always wanted to be in this business, and I've always wanted to be a part of the automotive industry and, you know, make some kind of contribution.
Well, part of Dave's contribution is both his shop and the restoration of cars, like this 1968 GTO. Don't go away. This is about to be a finished car, looking good and ready for the road.
I can't wait, man.
You'll see the completion of this build. It's all coming up next when we return with more Hot Rod TV. We're back. If you want to build some early muscle, you'll need three things. A solid car to start with, somebody to get you great reproduction parts, and a guy who can make old stuff look like new.
We got all the dash put in.
This 68 GTO is almost through the finish line.
Getting the interior wrapped up pretty close. We got a door panel in the front seats to put in.
And here it all comes, making the inside look like those cool cars from another era. For some, it's easy to get nostalgic as you look at this ride. With the arrival of the driver's seat, we know we're getting close to completion.
All right, two front seats are bolted in.
And now, it's showtime. It started as a car that was in pretty good shape, but the company and the builder had more on their minds than mere upgrades. They wanted a restoration that would shock the enthusiasts. Well, get ready, because from what we hear, they've done just that. Okay, fill up your waterbed and slip into your bell bottoms. It's 1968 all over again.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Joel. Incredible,
Wow,
man.
incredible.
Wow.
There you go.
Daniel, awesome. Good to see you. Joel,
All right,
good to see
Tony,
you.
there you go.
Great. Look at that color.
I don't even want to touch the paint right now.
Oh, it's amazing.
Good job, Joel.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
It's awesome.
This sucker's gonna look great at SEMA.
Yeah, it's gonna really look good at SEMA.
No question.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Well, it doesn't get any cleaner than that.
That is awesome.
Joel, I think you've outdone yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We keep working at it.
Quite a team. 100-point restoration. It's never going to be 100 points because it's a restoration. It's 100 points when it comes off the factory floor from General Motors in 1968.
But it doesn't get closer than this.
Well, at first glance, you know, when the car pulled up here, it's a 100-point car to me. I'm excited. The color, the interior, it's got that new car smell, the new wheels, tires.
Tony feels great about this project.
For me, it's a big thing because I have a big passion for cars, all cars. And to see a company like Original Parts Group, to see the things that we're doing, going through the efforts to make those parts and to painstakingly test fit them on cars and then take those cars and restore them and put our parts on there, it's exciting for me, and I think customers really like to see it as well, that we're using our own products.
Okay, time for more test runs. Everyone's eager to see if it drives as great as it looks.
Wow, man. This thing is amazing, dude. What do you think?
It's awesome,
Yeah?
man. Yeah. It just runs great, sounds great. What a great vibe. It's awesome.
It is an awesome car.
Ready for another one?
Oh yeah. Bring it on.
We were thinking the same thing. See you next time on Hot Rod TV.